how you actually can see the orangutans is it's a little bit like going on an African safari. This is deep in the rainforest. I mean, our boat took us over two hours to get there. And I mean, you're just going along and you think you're in the middle of absolutely nowhere. And all of a sudden there's a lodge. So you'd be walking along one of the paths in the lodge, and all of a sudden you look up and there's an orangutan just hanging out, you know, going from tree to tree. All the monkeys though, and all the birds. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Welcome back to Passport Diaries, a travel podcast by Travel Store. On today's episode, we're getting our passport stamped in Borneo and Singapore with Susanne Hamer, who is one of our adventure travel experts who loves getting way away from the crowds and going places that very few people get to go. If you've always wondered what it's like or what it takes to go travel to Borneo or to Singapore or Malaysia, this is the episode for you. So grab your passport and let's go get it stamped in Borneo with Susanne Hamer. I know that we're going to get into Borneo, but I do want to hear about Singapore.
Singapore is really an interesting, it's a country actually, small country. Yeah. And it is at the very bottom of the Malaysian bottom, I would want to say. It's the end part of Malaysia, and it has cultures. You have Hindu, you have Muslim, you have all sorts, you have Buddhist. So when you're walking around in Singapore, especially in the kind of the old town area, you'll have every single thing. I mean, we were at a Hindu festival, and then we went to a Buddhist temple that's one of the oldest in Singapore, and so on and so forth. So it's really cool. And then you go to the food court, and you can have every single dish from any nation at the food court. And it's huge. I mean, it's like 3 stories with nothing but, food, little restaurants. You've got shops and everything. It's amazing.
What did you get? Did you get anything that stood out?
No. It's just too overwhelming, especially when you've got a 12-hour flight difference. You're a little off there. So yeah.
Oh yes, this was you trying to stay awake and up so that you could actually sleep.
You just keep on going the best you can, and then you kind of crash in the evening, and then you start all over, and that's really the only way to get over jet lag.
Is to push through.
Yeah, exactly.
So we started in Singapore. Is this when you took off and went to the first stop in Borneo?
Yeah. So I think it were 2 nights in Singapore first, and then we flew to the first destination, which is Kota Kinabalu. And so now we're going from Singapore to Malaysia. Different country, different traditions. And then from there, went on to the next flight where we went to Sandakan. And then in Sandakan is where really the orangutan, one of the biggest orangutan sanctuaries is. And from there, you take boats into the rainforest. That first morning we went to the orangutan sanctuary, which is, it's basically a huge, like a national park in a sense, where you wouldn't even know that it's fenced in because it's so big. And the orangutans just roam around freely like they do anywhere else, but it is a sanctuary. So I think it's for ones that have been orphaned or hurt or they've been in captivity, and now they can't really go into the wild, but they are wild, So so that was that first interesting day when I think you saw the picture of the one that I'm walking along, and he's just walking right next to me. And that was because I took a wrong turn and everybody left me. And I was a little panicked. I thought, oh, everybody's left me. Where am I now, And out of the blue comes this big guy walking along on the railing right in front of me. And it was amazing. So.
Was it calm? Was it
totally
scary?
Calm. He was just walking along like nothing happened.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, here's what happened. it's a sanctuary for orangutans that need a home. So they saw you left behind, and the orangutan was
Yeah,
like, I
they
got
came.
you.
Yeah,
Came and scooped
yeah.
you up.
And the interesting thing when you can see them from up close, and you can also see that when there's, swinging up in the air, is they have such long arms,
Yeah.
limbs, huge, very, very long, very long. And
Yeah.
because they hang all day long, that's what they do. So they're very strong, and they're amazing creatures, I have to say, really are.
I did a tiny bit of research before this because I was like, I don't know anything about orangutans. But one little fun fact that stuck with me, because I was looking at your photos and some had little baby orangutans with them.
Yep.
And I learned that they stay with mama for 8 years until they're big enough to weigh down the branches and swing to the next one.
They're very much like human babies, actually. They
Oh.
don't leave the home for a long time, so to speak. So, yeah.
And that is getting longer and longer.
Yeah. Yeah. So, no, but they really are amazing. And
Wow.
then there's a lot of other things to see, in Borneo. I mean, I was just in the Malaysian part of Borneo, and I didn't. I learned after the fact that actually Borneo is the third largest island in the world,
Oh,
and
wow.
it's made up of part Malaysia, part Indonesia, and then also the small little country of Brunei. That's all Borneo. And
Oh.
then you have the orangutans are in the Malaysian part and the Indonesian part, and I'm not sure what the difference is. I just think it's a different country, and that's it. It's like when you're in Africa, the animals don't know if they're in Kenya or in Tanzania. It's just it's a human thing that did that. So, but there's lots of other species. I mean, there's all these other different, a lot of monkeys, and there's that one that I can't remember his name, with a big tummy and the big nose. I forgot the name of that monkey. Very,
Oh.
very prevalent there. And then also we saw the small wild Malaysian elephants.
Oh.
And I think they're even smaller than the Asian ones, because the Asian ones have smaller ears than the African ones, and these are even a little smaller. They're very, we saw them like through the trees. You could see them. There was like a troop of maybe 8 of them, a family. For people to understand how you actually can see the orangutans is, it's a little bit like going on an African safari. We take the boats, and they're just regular boats, nothing fancy, from Sandakan to one of the many river lodges. And this is deep, deep in the rainforest. I mean, our boat took us over two hours to get there. And I mean, you're just going along and you think you're in the middle of absolutely nowhere, and all of a sudden there's a lodge. Um, so basically, you spend your day, you go out early in the morning on what I would call a river safari, and then you do the same thing in the evening so that you can spot the different wildlife. Your orangutans, though, live there. So they are out and about all day long. So you'd be walking along one of the paths in the lodge, and all of a sudden you look up and there's an orangutan just hanging out, going from tree to tree. And so you never know how many you're going to see, when you're going to see them. So it's just, and they move from one place to the other. So that's why it's always a good idea to do 2 or 3 different lodges, because you're going to see different things everywhere.
And you saw the sun bears, right?
I did, but those were in the rehab center.
Oh,
I
gotcha.
don't think you can even see those in the wild. I think they're practically
Mm.
extinct.
Oh, did not realize.
Yeah,
Wow.
believe so. Yeah, yeah. And there's other things. You see your crocodiles, you see all sorts of things. Which just live in that area, and you probably see maybe 5% of what is really there, because they're all,
Hmm.
they're animals. They don't need to, they're hiding, they're doing their thing. All the monkeys though, and all the birds, I mean, it's unbelievable. It really is cool. It really is. So, and then, during the day, you kind of hang out at the lodge and you just walk around. You can nature walks, and it's all little walkways. So, there's you don't need to be afraid of any animals. They're fine. You're above that, kind of walking on walkways. Basically, the first lodge we were at, we actually did a really interesting excursion there during the day after we'd been out in the morning safari. Um, we went to a center where they were planting indigenous trees, and we actually have one with Travel Store's name on it.
Oh.
Yeah. And the I didn't quite understand why we did that, because I thought there's so many palm trees here. But basically, um, years ago, whichever settlers came, they took out all the indigenous palm trees and they planted the palm trees for the palm oil. And those are
Mm.
not native, and so the animals don't, that I don't know if they eat them or anything, but they're not native. So what they've done is they're taking out all of those non-native trees, and putting back in the indigenous ones.
Wow.
Yeah.
It sounds like this trip, seeing the Orangutan Rehabilitation Center, the sun bears, which can't find out in the wild anymore, and they're trying to keep them going in their center, and this tree replanting to replace these invasive species with natives. It sounds is Borneo pretty invested in ecotourism and conservation efforts?
Oh, very much so. Yes. In fact, both of the lodges that we stayed at were eco lodges. So yes,
Oh,
very, very much so. Yes.
was Borneo always on your list of places to go, or was it an opportunity that presented itself?
Well, I personally like to go to different places that people don't normally go to, and anything exotic and different is always on my list. I just like the challenge, and I mean, it is a destination that requires you to be pretty fit actively. You're getting in and out of boats. Um, you're walking a lot. It's hot. It's humid.
Mm.
So you have to be in pretty good shape to do all this. And I think it's fascinating. I've always liked, like I said, different, exotic, just something, and also away from the crowds, which
Hmm.
I think a lot of people in today's day and age is what they're looking for. Get away from crowds. I mean, the people at the lodge were, there was a group of people from the US, and they were all members of um, one of the zoos on the East Coast, and they were,
Oh.
yeah. And so they were actually going further into Borneo, even deeper in, um, because that's what their focus was. But I also saw a young family with two kids who, I think they came from, I don't know, probably Australia or something, and there they were. So it's great, and it really is a fantastic experience for anybody.
The other side of the away from the crowds is not only is it great for the traveler who gets to get away from the crowds and the people and everybody impacting specific places, but I do really like that it shares the love. It allows other places to get some of that tourism traffic and investment economically.
It's interesting, a lot of these eco lodges, they actually do rely on donations from people. And
Mm.
we had a really interesting quote unquote fundraiser at the last lodge I was at. It's Sukau Lodge. They had a rubber ducky race, and it was the funniest thing ever. So you bid on a duck, and you got your own duck with the number on, and you put $20 or something, And the staff made this so much fun. I mean, it was like, I felt like I was a celebrity at some, game show. And they had music going and everybody, and so you got, you got two or three of these ducks. And then they went down to the river and they put them in the river, and whichever one got over first won a prize. And everybody got into this with their ducks. It was so funny, and that's how they raise money. It's a fun way to spend an afternoon, and they had beer and wine and all of that, and everybody totally got into their duck race. So it was really fun. Yeah.
That's the best fundraiser ever.
Oh, it was really fabulous. So yeah, a lot of these lodges, they depend on the fundraising or donations, should I say. They do a lot of research, and they do an incredible amount of work for these animals. So yeah, and the other thing, this particular camp was so much fun. So when you first arrived at check-in, they said, okay, we're going to sit you all in this room. And each of you is going to have two of their sarongs in your closet, and you have to wear it every night. So we were all in, local attire, and they showed us how you could wear them. So we did that, and everybody participated. I mean, it really was a lot of fun. Every guest was into it. It was great.
Oh, I want to ask about when you were on, I think on the riverboats, the villages that you went into, like the fishing villages and the houses on stilts. What was that like?
This was before we got to the lodges. This was around the I think it was Sandakan. So there is a whole section of people, and they call them sea gypsies, and they all live in houses on stilts. And
Wow.
there's a huge population, and that's just how they've always lived. I've seen that in a few different parts of the world. I saw it in Myanmar, in Inle Lake. There's the whole city is on the stilts, and they even grow their vegetables in the water. I've seen that in Cambodia. I think it's just a way of life. It's how you grow up. And one of our guides that we had he said, I'm a sea gypsy. And they have schools, they have everything. We went to see a little school. In fact, I have one picture with the little kids who were looking at me through the gate. They were so cute. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's amazing. So now one thing we did at the wetlands, the first resort, is we actually went to a local family, and one of the they do a lot of, I think it's lobster fishing. So what they do is they make their own baskets with some bait, and then they lower them over their verandas and then just put them in the water, and they wait for something to happen. So we learned all about that, and it was interesting. And then we also had a lovely morning tea there when they gave us, they made beautiful little snacks. And in fact, these people had rooms that they rented out to, I would say there were mostly students who came from, maybe Germany or, that part of the world. And they would stay there for weeks to do their, some research and things. And they would stay with these families. So that was interesting to see.
Tell me about the climate. So it's Borneo is on the equator, and it's thick rainforest. Is it humid? Is it hot? Is it muggy? What does it feel like?
It's very hot. It's very humid. And yeah, that's all there is to it. I mean, it's like wear your hat, wear your sunscreen, and you could wear shorts, let's say when you're at the lodge, but I wouldn't recommend that going on the boats, because you should always wear something, lightweight, long pants, because you never know if you're going to get bit by something, or you just never know. So that's what I would recommend. Yeah. And then and it can rain out of the blue. You're on the boat and all of a sudden it starts pouring down. And the actual trees are so thick. I've never seen anything as dense as that before. And what'll happen is some of the trees will break off and they'll start forming new islands.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that's cool.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
think of it a little bit like the mangroves in Florida, but 100 times thicker.
Was it tough navigating the waters?
Yes. I mean,
Mm.
obviously I wasn't driving, thank goodness. I mean, there were a few times when we had to literally duck our heads because there was a tree branch that had just fallen down.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
yeah, yeah, you're really going into the rainforest.
So we would call this adventure travel.
It's adventure travel, but it's not dangerous adventure travel. I mean, it's not like you're going rock climbing or something like that, but it is definitely adventure travel. And like I said, you do have to, if you don't like hot and humid, then you shouldn't be going there. It is, and it's difficult, even if you're in great physical shape, it still is difficult with that high humidity and heat.
Yeah.
Lots of, drink a lot of water, wear your hat, sunscreen. So that's basically what it is. Yeah. So my recommendation really would be it's to spend two, we did 2 nights. I would like to say maybe 3 nights at each lodge. Um, and if you can, if the person has enough time, then I would try and do 3 lodges. Now,
Mm.
there are also, which I haven't done myself, but that you can also rent um, houseboats. And you
Ooh,
have a
fun.
captain, and that's another way. Instead of staying at the lodges, I probably would say it's not as comfortable as the lodges, but that is also an option for people to do. I mean, we did see one luxury boat that we actually got to spend a couple of hours on.
Mm.
It was interesting to see. I personally would prefer to stay at a lodge. I just think you
Yeah.
got more out of it because you had the camaraderie of the other people there. And oh, and here's another fun factor. Many at the lodge, when you first get there, they have a big gong. And that is if anybody has an orangutan sighting, they have to quickly run, bang the gong. So 3 times. So wherever anybody is, they know orangutan sighting.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And then they also have cultural evening, and they had a whole talk on about the animals. I mean, so I think for me personally, I think a lodge situation is better.
What was the cooking class that you took?
Well, after the 2 lodges, we flew to Kuala Lumpur.
Mm.
Kuala Lumpur is the capital of Malaysia, and that's where we had a cooking class. And that was actually really interesting. Um, it was a women's owned company, and these are all retired ladies who lived in a huge apartment complex, and they started these cooking classes during pandemic because they were bored. They're all professional women. I think one was a physicist, and God knows what. They were very, and so they started this, and they do it outside, in kind of a outdoor area of where they live, and it
Uh,
was fantastic. You come from the jungle, and then you have a big culture shock because now you're in a concrete jungle.
mm-hmm. Oh, I do want to hear about Kuala Lumpur because whatever that massive golden statue with the steps looked
That is
amazing.
actually, it's temples that are inside in caves. And it's like, I don't know how many hundreds of steps to get up. And then once you're up at the top, you go inside, and there's all these, I guess, temples carved out in the cave.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's, I'm assuming, not a modern thing.
No,
It's been there.
I don't know how long it's been there, but it's been there a long time. Yes. And again, hot and humid, and I don't know how many steps. I mean, at least 250 steps going up and then down, something like that.
Wow.
And I think it might be Hindu. I've got my religions mixed up. I can't remember which one it is, because there's also a big temple down below that you go to first. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you do any other stops in Kuala Lumpur while you were there before you flew out?
We stayed 2 nights in Kuala Lumpur, and the one highlight is going up also the tallest, I think it's the second tallest building in the world, the Twin Towers. Well, it's called Twin Towers. It's 2 towers with a bridge across. I believe it's the second largest in the world.
Did you go to the top?
Yes. And I'm afraid of heights, so it was quite a challenge. But I've done it in Dubai, and I did it there. So, yeah.
You know what's funny is I keep talking to our experts, and everyone who goes up to the top in like a hot air balloon or up to the top of a building, all of them say, I'm afraid of heights. So it's you all are very courageous.
Yes, well, that's part of traveling, and that's part of doing new experiences. You get pushed to the limits of something you probably wouldn't do otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Is there anything, any major takeaways from this trip to Borneo and to Malaysia? Would you go back and explore other parts, or?
Well, I personally, I've been to that part of the world many, many times. Not Borneo, but other parts of Southeast Asia. What I would say to somebody doing this trip and who likes nature, I would definitely combine this with a snorkel or dive trip to Raja Ampat, which is one of the best snorkeling and diving sites in the world. And it is kind of in the area of closer to Papua New Guinea than anything else. It is Indonesia. It is, and well, it's difficult to explain, but I would say it's not too far from Komodo Island, where you have the large Komodo dragon. So it's in that vicinity. So it's quite difficult to get to. So I would say if you're already nearly there, why not do that as well?
Yeah.
And in that part of the world, again, you can either do during season, you'll have cruises. I mean, small, like maybe 50 cabin or smaller, 50 people. One of them is called the Aqua Expedition that I have used a lot for clients. It's a nice yacht, and there are many others, but that's one of them. Or again, they will have eco lodges, and these eco lodges are a little bit like your overwater bungalows in French Polynesia, but a lot more rustic. And so that's where you would do your diving and your snorkeling from.
Do you dive or snorkel?
No, I snorkel, but not a huge amount. But no, but you don't need to be a diver to go to do this, because the waters are crystal clear. Yeah. It's amazing what you can see. Yeah. So I wouldn't just say you have to go diving.
Yeah, there's plenty available to anyone at surface level looking down.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just a couple of general questions for people who don't or haven't met you. What is it that you specialize in, or what's it like a little bit of your story in travel?
Oh, well,
yeah.
Well, I first of all, I've been with Travels for nearly 30 years. So next year will be 30 years. I started my career out in the airlines. I'm originally from Switzerland, so my first career was with Swiss. It's called Swiss now. I was Swiss Air then. And so that's how I started traveling all over the world. Then when I started out in this part of the business, I actually headed up our travel store's honeymoon division. So then I started specializing in islands such as French Polynesia, Fiji. So I've been going to both of those parts of the world for probably over nearly 30 years. And So I did that for many years, and I realized that I wanted to branch out, and I wanted to do more exotic travel and plan more exotic travel for clients. And so that's when, maybe 10 years ago, I really started doing very intriguing, intricate itineraries for people that most people didn't even know where something was. So that's how I got into Borneo, the Rajampat, Southeast Asia. I've been to Bhutan, I've been to Myanmar. I mean, all of those places, which are fascinating. So next on my list, that I'm thinking next year, I'm going to go to Nepal. Now, that's another combination that I would recommend for people, is doing Nepal and Bhutan
together.
They're next to each other. They're completely different and very interesting.
We hope you enjoyed this episode on Borneo, Malaysia, and Singapore with Susanne Hamer. And if you want to read more about her travels, you can find so many of her blog posts on our website, travelstore.com, and just search for her name, Susanne Hamer, Hamer. Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts so you can get notified when our next episode drops and get another stamp in your podcast passport. And until next time, safe travels from all of us here at Travel Store.